Morning Uganda.
A very good morning to you. Welcome back from that short break. Let's talk science now. But yours is to be indeed part of this conversation by asking the questions, very pertinent questions into the conversation we are having this morning. 0709602592. My name is Julie F. Nantaba, and as we're looking at or talking about science, especially on the side of learners, science is a subject that you just don't read about or you don't want to read about. You want to, aside from reading about it, you want to touch it, you want to experience it, you want to test it, and this is why we are looking at science kits for learners as they grasp science subjects. Now, I wonder if in your time of school you had science kits or you crammed throughout the way until you made it in life. But this time around, given the new curriculum that the government is embarking on or pushing, emphasizing in schools, that is the competence-based curriculum, you might as well think indeed that having science kits is a conversation to pay heed to. That is why in studio with me, we do have guests to speak into this matter with a plethora of knowledge and of course their expertise. And that is Stuart Nabasa, who is the Technical Program Manager at Riverflow International. I'm also with Haji Abe Musoke, who is the Principal Officer Basic Education at the Ministry of Education and Sports. A very good morning to you, gentlemen. I'll start with Haj, who is my neighbor, immediate neighbor. Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. How have you been?
Very well, thank you. It's a pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you.
And Nabasa, it's a pleasure having you this morning.
Thank you, Nantaba.
Right. Yeah. I'll start with the both of you giving us just a bit of a preamble, starting with you, Nabasa. Who are you as a technical programmer at Riverflow International, and what is Riverflow International?
Thank you very much, Nantaba. My name is Teacher Nabasa. I'm the Technical Programs Manager, Riverflow International.
Right.
And Riverflow International, when you hear about it, just look at a group of teachers, basically who are science educationists, look at researchers, and look at innovators who work together to make sure that they make science so simple for every kind of learner who was born onto this earth.
This includes math?
Include everything, as long as it is science. We just make it so simple.
Right.
And many people out there know how we do it.
Right. Haji Musoke, who are you? What does it mean to be a Principal Officer Basic Education? What is your role?
Thank you very much, Nantaba. My name once again is Musoke Abe. I work with the Basic Education Department of Ministry of Education and Sports. What it calls for is coordinating activities, working with learners, ensuring that learning takes place at classroom level, because that's where our goal is.
Right.
Ensuring that the teachers are on task, ensuring that the materials you sent out are used, but most importantly, making sure that the curriculum is really addressed. So our goal as Minister of Education is to ensure that the teaching meets the current climate of Uganda.
Right.
Thank you.
Now let's look at science kits. What are science kits?
Oh, thank you very much. Science kits are a new innovation by government of Uganda. When we talk about a laboratory, in the previous years we would talk about a forward building, and that was for secondary schools. And you would know that in the laboratory you would enter and sit there, and that is really expensive for a primary school. So we came up with an innovation, brought the practical teaching into a small cabinet which covers all the topics, all the materials that the teachers require to teach. The topics we align in the curriculum are defined here. We talk about visibility. The microscopes are given in the curriculum. But I mean, in the kit, we talk about lenses. We used to talk about lenses, like you said, in secondary. This is where we would meet the glasses and others. Teachers would talk about light traveling in a straight line, but there was no practical application of that, and the children would not tell. So this is what we are bringing to them. The government of Uganda has done this, and it is extending it to all teachers to ensure that they are able to make the child understand. Our goal is to build a practical child who will transit to secondary with ease. There has been a barrier. a disconnect between primary and secondary. You talk about practical teaching, it is secondary level. We are now talking about practical teaching at primary level, starting at the lowest class. The teacher is supposed to engage the children are supposed to innovate, and it makes it interesting. They want to come back to school tomorrow because they know that what they are talking about is a reality and it relates to the world.
Right.
That's the key.
You say that I think it should even be improved at secondary level, because even at secondary level you'll find that yes, they are practicals but still crammed, which is rather interesting and a challenge therein. Speaking of challenges, Teacher Nabasa, over the time I believe you could have done a school time where there were no science kits. And we thank God that you're here to change the narrative. What challenges do you think were faced, or the country faced, in producing children that never, rather studied science, but without necessarily having kids around them?
Thank you very much, Nantaba. When you bring an aspect like that, we even start right now, this morning as we are seated here talking, there is a teacher right now in class drawing a certain scientific concept on the chalkboard. Right now as I'm talking, somewhere, somehow, in a certain village, in a certain town. And that's how most of us actually learned. I always tell people that even the scientists we are having today, they might have, some of them passed by luck. But you're looking at those days, a teacher comes early in the morning, good morning class, and where did we stop? Then they start writing notes, then the runners also copy notes to their what? To their books. Now, the importance of notes, I always ask people, if you give, for example, a P3 child notes, some of them, they may not be necessary for them. But then the intention is, the teacher wants these learners to actually later use these notes and they cram them. Then tomorrow when they ask a question, the learner should be able to remember what they wrote in the textbook. Now, that's the narrative. Some of the challenges that we faced was fear. A learner looks at science as something ambiguous, when actually science is around us. We are here, water, science, food, science. Science is just around us, which means that the best way of teaching it should be experiential. Then with the things that are actually very hard to get within, for example, the environment, to demonstrate science, to show this learner science, then we improvise them. And that's where we come in. We say, how about the concept is harder for the teacher to get? Then what do we do? Let's invent something for this teacher so that this learner does not hear about something. I think there are people who put on glasses, for example. When a P7 learner is running it, they say, lazy glassy, here the learners see. Why is the glass put in front of the eyes? But we have people out there who put on glasses. They just know, they help them, but they started those things they do not know.
Right.
And that's where the concept of innovation comes from. A child at primary level is thinking, oh, the glasses are like this. Then why can't we make ones? And that's how now we have some primary learners that are able to showcase projects just like secondary learners are doing.
Right.
So I think that is the line we are going into. Now, then you bring in many other concepts. Children as early as 4, they are going to school to do what?
Yeah.
So we want to make learning so simple, not like a crime. Some runners, you meet them crying on the road. Oh, yeah, they don't want to go to school because there is nothing pushing them. That brings me to the point that when learners learn practically, the interest increases, the enrollment increases, the orientation increases. You don't need to cry, learners are not coming to school. Why should they come to school?
Right.
And that's where we come in. Make learners interested in learning, make learning interesting, and make teaching so easy.
Right. I wish I had a teacher like you in my time of school. But let's also look at why you think it's hard for teachers to implement the practicability of science in schools.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so that is, it ranges from attitude to resources and to the environment. Now, one would start from the attitude of the teachers. Obviously, we have some teachers who do not see the importance of this. They are there, out there. Yeah, but now one of the work that we do in our initiative is to ensure that we encourage learners through our teacher support initiatives, day in, day out. When you meet them, encourage them. But sometimes we teach with them. They say, this thing is very hard. You say, come, I show you. Then you show them and say, hey, hey. So there you are working on the attitude. Number two, the availability of materials. Sincerely, as a teacher, I would speak on behalf of the teachers. There are things that really are very complex, and even getting things to aid the learning of that concept easily, it is very difficult. And that's where we actually say yes and appreciate Ministry of Education and Sports. They have really supported these teachers.
Right.
Over 3,000, 4,000 schools, they are actually now having mini laboratories. You find learners learning about the heart, and they can feel the heart. And they say, oh, this is how the heart works. Recently, we were on a certain science exhibition in Soroti City, and then the child was telling parents how actually people who feel back pain comes about. And even parents were saying, this is the problem. They even didn't know.
Right.
But a child of primary 4 is able to explain that. That means this is already a doctor in making. They're able to explain why things happen the way they are, rather than cramming the concepts for tomorrow to write the answers on the what? On the paper.
Yes.
Like now we are in mocks.
Yes, exactly.
Teacher
Nabasa, I'll ask you how the YDX is practically applied, but that will be for when we have the time. But I'll come to Haji Musoke. When did the Ministry of Education embark on this project, and what has been the impact thus far?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This has been a long distance move. Of course, it was well thought of. The teachers were lamenting, like the teacher Nabas has been talking about. In financial year 2021, in the financial year 2021, those are 5 years ago,
right,
the government committed to this cause. And it started procuring in partnership with Riverflow and others to distribute the primary science kits to schools. We started small, but like he has said, now we have reached quite a bigger number. We started with some small local governments, the deepest, those who were challenged most, because Kampala schools can actually access these materials. There are schools where the directors can afford, so we went for government-aided schools. We started in 2021, we have been tracking the journey, and the scope has increased. We started with a smaller number. We are now talking about thousands of them. We have already covered over 3,500 schools with the distribution of kits, and the vision is big. We are intending to reach out to everybody. You know, we have got over 12,000 schools in Uganda, and our ambition is to ensure that every teacher in the country has access to these materials. The beauty is the schools are utilizing them, and the comments we are receiving from the field is that the teachers are enjoying it. The learners are really practical, like I said in the beginning. The teachers are also forming a community of practice. You find the teachers in the same district, those who receive the kids, coming together to plan, to discuss the challenges they used to have in interpreting the curriculum are now becoming easier. We have a platform, like Teacher Nabasa said. We communicate to them on a daily basis. If they are challenged somehow, if there is something they want to talk about and they are not clear about it, they come to us through that platform. So it is made easier. The inspectors are going around to check on the usability of these materials. But the most important aspect I want to confirm to you is that this small gadget can fit in every class, whether the teacher's office, whether the classroom, or whether they want to sit outside. It is accessible. We are not if we were to talk about walls, the government would have faced a very big hurdle. But it is easy now to roll out. Every school is going to get it. And I want to promise you the change is visible.
Right.
And we're looking at that.
Teacher Nabasa, could you please explain what this kit looks like? What is in this kit? Is it a box? Is it a tiny ball? Is it a whole truck of equipment? What do the kits look like?
Okay, thank you very much, Nantaba. When you talk about a science kit, people think of something like you are explaining and you don't know. But the science kit, I'm not going to say that it is a cabin, but I'm going to say this is a set of unique instructional materials that actually teachers find very hard to get in their community. By the way, for us teachers, when we are training, we are even trained on how to improvise. Something that you cannot easily get, how can I now use a different way to get it? But that kit contains things that you cannot easily improvise. I'll give an example. In primary 6, we teach about blood saturation, pumping of blood, a very, very key component in life. Now, you find the teacher, the easiest way they can actually find the way to translate this to the learners is by making a chart, for example, by picking a textbook in the library. But then here this kit will give them a model which is physical which is physical. The learners can look at the structure and look at the texture, and they are able to see the functioning of the heart. So instead of the teacher writing a full chalkboard of how the heart works, in just 2 minutes, they show how blood moves through the heart 2 times, and the learners are at par. And the learners are like, wow. And one thing that you have to know is that when the teacher is using this, even his work is easy. So we are looking at into all the practical aspects of the syllabus from primary 4, 5, 6, and 7, so that these learners are able to see science, are able to hear science, are able to touch science. We want that experiential learning.
Right.
Now, other things that are there, they include all, like I said, all the things. And most importantly, all the skills, values as stated in the syllabus. When teachers are using these kits, like I told you, the models, the electricity, the magnetism, the simple machines, those things you are learning about, please, here learners do experiment on them. And then they are able to relate on how, for example, these ones are used in the daily life. Just like my senior has talked about it.
Right.
Yes.
Very profound at that. I'm really, really excited to have this conversation, because right now I wish I could go back to school and be taught by teachers such as Teacher Nabasa. Otherwise, I think out of all subjects, I would have aced math, because math was a bit of the challenge for me. I would have had practical math at my hands. And if you're wondering what we are talking about this morning, we're looking at science kits as provided for by the Ministry of Education and partners to interest learners in grasping science subjects, in helping learners understand science subjects using practical tools, and that is the science kits. In studio with us, we do have teacher Stuart Nabasa, who is a technical program manager at Riverflow International. We also have Haji Abe Musoke, who is the principal officer basic education at the Ministry of Education and Sports. Ask that question 0709-602-592. Now, Haji Musoke, what's the importance of district education officers in distributing these kits?
Thank you very much. But before I go to that, I wanted to emphasize that every kit that goes out has a manual. That book helps the teachers to understand what is in the kit and how it is supposed to be used.
Right.
So the role of the district education officer, you are aware, Nantaba, that primary education in this country is a decentralized service. So education at that level is foreseen by the district education officers, the inspectors, and they are the ones that reach out to the teachers almost on a daily basis. So the role of the head teacher and the DO is to ensure that this kit is put the right use. We had incidences some time ago where materials will be sent to schools and they are kept, but the DO is supposed to follow up and make sure that it is used. Number 2, to ensure that the pieces that get worn out, because like batteries we send with them in some aspects, can wear out. The head teachers are encouraged to make sure that they replace these small items. The others are really very important, and they stay permanently, but the few that require that attention. And then number 3 is to also carry out dialogues with the different stakeholders. Show them the purpose of why the practical teaching of science is important. Because if the DOs do not do it, then the teachers will not understand the value. Then the inspector is supposed to move around, make sure that even the schools that are not able to access the material can now work collectively with those that received it, and then as we plan to give to everyone, they have access to this material, because no child is supposed to be left behind. That is the role of the DO.
No child is supposed to be left behind. Buikara SS Kagadi hasn't received science kits yet. In case they have visited Kagadi district, then Buikara SS has been skipped. This is Twinamasko Frank who comes through and points out that concern. And that brings me to ask you, Haji Musoke, that 33 districts, I know for sure, were selected. How were they selected, and who exactly was the beneficiary?
First of all, I want to respond to the question from Wikara. We are talking about primary science kits here. There is a component for secondary at another level. We are talking about primary schools. So this component covers only primary schools. And the government's focus is on government-aided primary schools. Now, going to the question Nantav has put to me, who has benefited? Over 100 districts have already received these kits. But in the recent cycle, which is the 7th since the financial year 21-22, we have been able in this one to distribute 615 science kits, and we are giving to 20 schools per district. We know that the district is bigger than 22, but the criteria was sent out to the schools. We are rewarding efforts. In that criteria, which was developed by the department, we look at the 15 best performing schools in a district. Who are those schools which are those schools that are standing out? Then we reward their efforts. Then we'll also look at those that are still trailing, those that need more effort to be supported, at least 5 of them, and we also give them the kits. So that is how they were chosen. But the other thing is the regional balance. We don't go to one side of the country. We are moving in all the 17 sub-regions of this country, making sure that at least we pick a district for every distribution cycle. We go to the district, and then in the next cycle we cover another district. We are consistently following the distribution to ensure that no part of this country is left out. I want to confirm to you that in the next 2 financial years, we should be able to have reached all the districts, but we shall now go back to gap fill, the schools that have not been able to get. But at least every part of the country will have received this one, yes.
All right. Coming to you, Teacher Nabasa.
Yes.
For learners who receive these kits and are taught based on these kits, how will they be different from learners who study traditionally?
Thank you very much. The whole issue is to get a balanced learner. A learner with the same amount of knowledge translated into skills, values and attitudes, which means we are looking at a learner who is not able to remember only, but they are also able to use the knowledge they have learned to solve a problem. I will start with the example. And usually at the primary level, when we talk about application, the population, I always see population making noise, they are thinking of a learner making a scan. Which even at the university level we are not yet reaching there.
Right.
But we are looking at the best creativity of the learner. If the learner has learned about electricity, is he able to make simple electric appliances? And we have seen that vividly in the schools that are doing science exhibitions. Science learners are already doing some projects, small, and that is the best one we would like, which would not be able to do. I don't remember myself even thinking about how, for example, to make something as simple as a torch. I don't remember, I even don't remember what we learned about it. It's just now that I'm a teacher, I say, hey, we actually learn these things. Exactly. Yes. Even the population can, usually when we are talking about them, then you hear an adult saying, wow, come, I'm now understanding, and then I was not understanding. Yeah. That is one of the things that we want to fight. We don't want crammers. That's why people always say that usually actually education is what happens when you have forgotten everything you learned in school. So we want everything that we have in school, carry it forward. Yes. Number 2, we also want to look at the achievement of the 21st century skills. Can these learners collaboratively perform a task? When you look at it, everywhere where we work in the teams. You are here, you have the producer, you have the camera. If any of that is not collaborating with you, obviously this program is not going to work. That is what we want to look at. Can these skills come out? Can they think critically? And now, how do these ones come in place? Critical thinking will not come when the teacher comes to class, talks, then gives notes, and then notes are copied into the books, and then the lesson is done. Critical thinking is going to come when learners are gathered performing a task. They are thinking, why is the torch not working? Why is the circuit not working? Maybe the wires are... They are thinking. When it comes to teamwork, collaboration, critical thinking, innovation, then they are saying, what if instead of using this, we do this? That is what we want, which is different from the other time where you come, you are taught, and what you are taught, tomorrow bring it and write it in an examination. You get a 90 and say 100%. Lastly, learners attain values. As the learners are learning about first aid, there is something I always tell teachers today. Today an accident happened somewhere. Instead of people running to help, they get their phones. Hello, an accident has happened here. People are dying. Like this one is going to die, has died. Then they post on TikTok. That means that through the education system, the value of empathy was not instilled.
Yes.
One of the key things that the syllabus actually insists on. Now, those are some of the things we look. So we are looking at a wholesome child with balanced knowledge, values, skills, and attitudes.
Very profound. Very profound. profound indeed. Now, our time is fast spent. I would have loved to have this conversation on and on and on. But at least, Haji Musoke, what are your call to action points to the general public when it comes to this conversation?
No, thank you very much. The teaching is a collective responsibility, and we are moving in a direction where we're running away from theory to practice. That is why the government of Uganda is committed to extending these materials to the schools. Our call to action is to the district education officers and the teachers who receive these materials. Please put them to the right use. Make sure that you program for this. Let the children access the materials. Don't just keep it in the offices. Make programs. It can be distributed. We are giving one for the start, but they can work out a plan, develop a plan to ensure that every child has access to these materials. We are going to move around and recognize those who are working out well, and we shall use them as models to teach the others, because peer-to-peer is the way to go.
Right.
We encourage you to use the materials, and we look forward to reaching every child.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Teacher Navasa, what is your call to action?
Thank you very much. Before I say my call to action, I want also appreciate private schools that have come through to also support their learners. Very many of them, and across the country, not only in Wakiso. My call to action is this. I'm going to take this to my fellow teachers. Let's teach the learners the way they can learn. Let us not teach the learners the way we want to teach. Let us teach them the way they can learn. If your learners cannot learn the way you are teaching them, then help them to learn the way they can learn. As simple as that.
Help them to learn the way they can learn. A very interesting question comes through to you, Haji. Allow me line it to you before you leave us here. Somebody comes through and says, thank you, Haji Abe. My concern is the teacher. Have you adequately prepared our teachers to use these kits? 2, is about storage of these kits in our schools. Are these kits safe in the hands of the teachers? What about the role of CCTs in promoting the use of these kits? If you could answer the author of this question, Jonathan Kamwana, and then we close it from there.
Thank you, Jonathan, a former colleague. Thank you very much, Commissioner, before. We are trying to train the teachers. It is part of the program.
Right.
Wherever we distribute the materials, we follow it up with the training and building capacity of the teachers. The safety of the kit, that's why we said it is mobile. We can move it. We look at a place that is comfortable. Is the head teacher's office secure? Then we can keep it there. And the teachers have access to that. Pick it out. But there is a very important arm of the CCT. We are moving into a direction where capacity building programs are carried by the CCTs for system strengthening. So the CCT is critical in building this capacity, and we are working with them to ensure that the teachers are trained.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's been such a pleasure having this conversation with you. Good Morning Uganda does continue. Up next is the agenda, and on the agenda this morning, we're looking at the aftermath of the LC1 elections, having this conversation with the RDC of Kasanda District. So do stay tuned and engage in on the conversation. Good morning.
Live from UBC's